Well, hello everyone. Dr. Tom O'Brien, starting a few minutes late because of technical things, but glad to be here. It says it's live and that it's working. If you can just send me a little message or something so I know that you're out there, that'd be great. Today's talk is about a healthy brain and body for the children in your family. And as we talk about the children in your family, what does that mean? Does that mean an infant, a toddler, a child, a teenager? I propose that at every stage there's a little bit of difference. Well, hello, Michelle O'Grady. Thank you so much. And oh, there's my wife. Hi, honey. Thank you so much. Oh, good. I know it's working. I know it's working. That's great. So I'm going to start by talking about children at the earliest ages. And I have an assistant with me today to talk about this. So let me just introduce my assistant, and that's my granddaughter, Mia. And Mia is having her dinner. So we're going to talk about her dinner and what makes for a healthy meal. And honey, oh yeah, I see the hearts. Yeah, thank you so much. Isn't it great? Let me see if I can position this so we can watch her a little bit while I'm doing this. So I'm going to move over a little, and we'll see while she's watching. Yes. Marzi, would you please text Kelly and tell her to turn on Facebook? And let's give her a surprise. Well, hello, Annie in Fort Worth, Texas. Your daughter's 2 and named Mia. Oh, isn't that sweet? That's really sweet. So first, I'm gonna look at Mia every once in a while so she knows that she's part of this. In healthy brains and healthy bodies, the first thing to understand is what are the foods that contribute to a healthy brain? And the most critical time is during pregnancy to be aware of this. And the doctor.com will be coming forward in the months to come with lots of information about healthy foods during pregnancy and why certain foods are better. And then, of course, after birth is the next phase. And why is this? Because the brain is developing. And we want to develop a really healthy brain. Hello, Catherine Tracy. And thank you for saying hi to Mia, too. Yes, yes. So how do I start off a meal with Mia? Well, we started off with healthy fats. And most of you have heard before that healthy fats on that list. Top of the list is avocado. So we have organic avocado cut into small pieces here that she is going after. Why healthy fats? Why is that the top topic when talking about healthy brains? Your brain cells communicate by secreting chemicals from one brain cell through the wall of that brain cell to the next brain cell. So the inside of the cell in the brain makes a chemical. That chemical goes through the walls of that cell, through the walls of the next cell, into the second cell. And that chemical activates a particular action depending on which chemical it is, and it modifies the chemicals which then go through the wall to the next cell and to the next cell. So the walls, they're called membranes. The membranes of your brain cells are really important that they work well so the brain cells can communicate. The analogy that I like to use is a lazy Susan. And I'm going to date myself here that when we used to go to the doctor's office, you go in the bathroom and you give a urine sample and you put it on the lazy Susan in the wall, and then you rotate that lazy Susan and the urine sample goes to the next room and the nurse is there and takes, hello Misty, thank you. The nurse takes that urine sample and then does some tests on it. And so our brain cells are like lazy Susans. The membranes are like lazy Susans. And it's the fats that we eat that are the raw material to make your brain cells. And if you eat good fats, your lazy Susans, the membranes of the brain cell, are well lubricated and they'll communicate very clearly. But if if it's Vasco Godemov says, it's Susan here and I'm not lazy. Okay, okay. If you have the wrong kind of fats, yes, baby, yes. If you have the wrong kind of fats, your lazy Susans get rusty. So if the majority of your fats are the kind of fats that come from French fries and onion rings and fried foods and what are called trans fats, then your lazy Susans get rusty and the brain cells can't communicate very well to each other. We've got friends. Am I reading this correctly? That's right. This is Deidre, and she's watching from Anne's house in Cashel, Ireland. Hi, Deidre. And I was in Anne's house in Cashel, Ireland about 6 weeks ago. Hi, thank you so much for watching. So the fats that you eat are the raw materials that make up the membranes, the lazy Susans, of your brain cells. And your brain cells, the easier the membranes, the more communicative your brain cells are with each other. Bottom line, the higher your IQ, the more you think. That's why the studies show that when you give children enough of the good fats, or other studies show that moms in pregnancy, if they take enough of the good fats, then their children at 8 years old, 10 years old, have on average a few points higher IQ than comparable children whose moms did not take fish oils during the pregnancy. It's the lazy Susans are working. The cell membranes can communicate to each other. So at this stage, yes, yes. At this stage, when you're working with children as infants, you've got complete control over what you give them. Now, whether they eat it or not is up to them. This morning, I thought I'd start with fresh organic blueberries, and then I tried to give her carrots after the blueberry. She just wasn't taking it. She just would grab a piece of carrot and reach over and throw it on the floor. And then I'd grab another, she'd grab another one and throw it on the floor. So you can't start with the sweet. I learned this morning, you can't start with the sweet and then expect them to eat anything else. So the sweets are at the end of the meal here today, and that's the organic blueberries that we have. And Ann Witherspoon is saying, I'm listening to see if you have any advice for kids who have feeding issues, failure to thrive. She doesn't feel hunger pains. It's been a tough road with her to get her to just eat enough of anything. And Ann, thank you for that. And yeah, I will talk about that, but also Marzi will address that in the Q&A afterwards. My wife is a nutritionist who specializes in autistic kids. So Marzi, please address Ann's question. Annie's question. Please address Annie's question. It's a really good question. So the first thing, Annie, is that I can't give her sweets first, like blueberries, and then expect her to eat carrots afterwards. It just won't work. I learned that this morning. I am in charge and solely responsible for my lovely granddaughter's well-being. I'm taking care of her for a week while her parents are taking a well-deserved vacation. And so we both are learning each other. This is our day 3 together, and we're having lots of fun. So the first thing, healthy fats in infancy. And I actually wrote to a friend of mine and asked about healthy fats because Mia was on skim milk, and in her last visit, the doctor said, she didn't quite gain as much weight as I'd like her to in this last period, so let's move her to 2%. So my daughter moved her to 2% the day before I came. And the result was, when I came, her bowel movements smelled really, really bad. And they had never smelled like that before. And so my daughter asked, what does that mean, Dad? And I said, well, honey, it usually means that the person is having a problem digesting that food very well. Dairy is a common one that kids can have problems with. It's really good for many reasons, but some kids can have a problem with it. And so then I wrote to a friend of mine and asked for some suggestions for alternatives to get enough fats in. because the idea of moving to 2% milk was to get the more fat in, which helps with growth. And her response was, use things that they like if kids like fruits and the kids like vegetables, if there are certain vegetables like sweet potatoes or things like that, use things they like and add some fats to it, such as with applesauce with cinnamon or with sweet potatoes, add some chia seeds. Or you can grind up some flax seeds, but you have to grind them. Don't do the whole seeds. But chia are really small, so they're usually fine. But I use a coffee grinder, and I put some seeds in a coffee grinder, go just for a minute, grind them up really fine. It releases the oil, so they're more easily accessible. And then you can mix that in applesauce. You can mix that in the purees of vegetables, things like that, to give a little more fats. Also, goat's milk is easier to digest than cow's milk. It's a smaller protein molecule. The protein molecule of cow's milk is 8 times the size of human breast milk protein molecules. Cows need 2 stomachs to digest enough, to digest cow's milk. They've got 2 stomachs, and that molecule is 8 times the size of human breast milk. So it's just tougher for humans to digest it. Some people can handle it. It seems like okay. Many people will have some type of a sensitivity to it. So goat's milk is smaller. The protein molecules are smaller, so it's easier to digest. Also doing things like fermented milk products like kefir is easier for the body to digest, and you get the proteins and you also get the fats. And now there's coconut kefir. I personally like coconut kefir or coconut yogurt more than cow's milk yogurt. And you can get those organic. Oh, my goddaughter, Aurora. Hi, honey. It's so nice that she's here. That's really nice. Thank you. Coconut milk yogurt is easier to digest. So I haven't gotten that yet for me. I'll go shopping tomorrow and see if she likes it or not. But we'll try it. Coconut milk is a good fat. Coconuts are good fats for you, one of the healthy fats. You also can mix a little bit of oil, just a little bit, in with some of the foods. Or I sauteed some, I sauteed the carrots, and I thought I was being so smart, with a little bit of butter, because the fats of the butter would make the sauteed carrots a little nicer. A little more palatable, I think. But unfortunately, I gave it to her after the blueberries, so she wasn't having anything to do with it whatsoever. So we'll try that again tomorrow and see. Because I went shopping and bought some organic carrots and some organic root vegetables, and I'll just try sauteing them up really well and see how she does with them. But it's always up to the person, the child, at different ages, whether they'll eat it or not. So when they're infants, you need some tricks of the trade. And we'll post a few more tricks of the trade, if you will, underneath this. And as you ask questions, Marzi will answer the questions, and we'll post some more possibilities in there. Let me give her now a little bit of the organic turkey, sliced turkey, a little bit of organic sliced turkey that she likes. And so we'll move to that phase now. Yes, baby. Yes. Let's see, what's next? Oh, toddlers. Toddlers have a little more communicative skills, but the idea is the same. You have to find ways of making foods that they like, that the flavors are good. Easier said than done, I know that. But we will answer questions on that in the Q&A underneath here. So if you have specific questions, type them in, and Marzi will answer them for you. Healthy brains. First thing is, of course, the healthy fats. The second thing is that you have to make sure that blood flow to the brain is adequate. And the way I talk about this, Mrs. Patient, blood flows up to your brain 2 ways. You've got the garden hoses going up your neck called the carotid arteries. And I do this, not because I'm Italian or we're Italian, but because it's a visual that people can see. At the top of the garden hose it's like a lawn sprinkler. And what you're looking, there's a test called a SPECT scan. SPECT scans look to see, are you saturating the brain with blood? Are you soaking the lawn with blood? We know in the Midwest, I'm here in Chicago today and spent 30 years here, and we know that in the summertime, you need to soak the lawn once or twice a week. If you water it for 5 minutes a day, every day, the grass will die because the blades of grass can't absorb water. You have to have enough water to get down to soak the roots. And that's the way it is to our brain. You have to have enough blood flow going into the brain. And why do I talk about that? Because the studies show that 7 out of 10 people that have a sensitivity to wheat, genetically sensitivity to wheat, 7 out of 10 of them have a lack of blood flow going into the brain. It's called lack of perfusion or hypoperfusion. Big Scrabble word, but if you have a sensitivity to wheat, 7 out of 10 people will have a lack, a reduction of blood flow going into the brain. What does that mean? Cross your legs for 2 hours. So just, if you would for a minute, please cross your legs, just, cross it over. Leave them like that for 2 hours. Then stand up and run. You can't, because there's no blood in your brain, or there's no blood in your legs. That's what happens to your brain. If you eat wheat and you have this genetic sensitivity, there's not enough blood going to your brain. So give your child a bagel for breakfast or pancakes for breakfast, and then send them to school to learn. They can't. They just can't. So, yes, oh yes. She's just chewing on her little Boo Bear. She loves her Boo Bear. So if there's a sensitivity to wheat or a sensitivity to dairy that can cause a lack of blood flow into the brain, known very well to do this, number of studies that show this, if there's a sensitivity to these foods, then the result can be there's a lack of blood flow going into your brain and the brain just can't function properly. So in foods for the brain, it's not only the good foods for the brain, but it's also the foods to avoid. So you have to look for sensitivities to foods. And there's a couple tests that you can do, really simple tests for children to see, do they have a sensitivity to foods? The first, when you take their socks off, do they have sock marks? And just make sure the socks aren't too tight, but do they have sock marks? That's a sign of edema, a little bit of water retention, may be and usually is associated with a food sensitivity. Or you can rub your hand across their tummy, you rub your fingernails, you're not scratching them, but you just rub your hands across their tummy and you wait 30 seconds. Do you see a red mark on their tummy? If you do, that's called a histamine reaction. That means their bodies are making too much histamine. That also is a marker of a sensitivity to foods. So there's a couple little screening tools you can use there to just get an idea if your child has a sensitivity to particular foods. So you've got to get the foods they're sensitive to out of there. And what are other foods that are great for supplying enough fats to the brain? Besides avocado, healthy fats would include seeds, chia seeds, flax seeds, and grind them up, grind the flax seeds up. And by the way, don't buy ground flaxseed meal, because when you grind the seeds, when you break them down into a meal, the oils start to oxidize. And what that means is that they start to go rancid. So the way you can tell is get some flax seeds, put them in a little coffee grinder, grind them up, taste them, say, that tastes, okay, I know what that tastes like. Then take those same flax seeds and that you ground up, some that were still there, put them in a bowl, leave them sit for 4 hours, then put fresh flax seeds in the grinder, grind them up, and taste them. Yeah, that's the taste that I tasted 4 hours ago. And then taste the ones from the first grinding. Say, oh, they taste different. That's rancidity. And there's different degrees of rancidity, but when you buy ground flax meal, they were ground weeks ago, if not months ago. So the rancidity factor can be a whole lot higher and not be as good for you. So always grind your seeds fresh. It's really important to do. So we've got avocados, good oils, olive oil, coconut oil, coconut itself, coconut kefir, coconut yogurts. They're just great for you. And in the infancy, really important to get enough of the good fats, critically important for their brain development, and in their toddlerhood and in their childhood. Our bodies, the brains continue to develop until you're somewhere in your early to mid-20s. So being aware of this all the way through is important. Healthy brains and healthy bodies for our children. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yes, here, let me give you some more. You want some more? Here we go. There we go. Really important. Uh-oh. Yes. Yes. It's just so wonderful to be here with my granddaughter. You know, I'm kind of forgetting some of the things I wanted to talk about, but it's a pleasure to be talking to you and be doing this with her. Healthy foods, proteins. You have to have enough protein. Obviously, growth is contingent upon having enough protein. Thank you, Misty. That's really nice of you to say. And what are quality proteins? Always get organic if you can. If you're doing meats, infants shouldn't have too much meat, and only the easier to digest meats. But always organic. The contamination factor in meats now is higher than ever before in history. So if you have access to grass-fed or free-range chickens, things like that, it's always better. But chickens in general are better than no chicken. It's a quality protein, much better than lunch meats in general. Organic turkey breast is great. So having quality proteins. You also can get proteins without going to meats. The idea of getting proteins from your grains or your seeds and nuts and nut butter, making a peanut butter mixed in with coconut kefir. You can get a plain coconut yogurt or coconut kefir, just get plain. And then you can mix some peanut butter in there or almond butter. And just get organic if you have access to it. There's a great source for that, by the way. For those of you that don't know about Thrive Market, thrivemarket.com. It's where Whole Foods meets Amazon meets Costco. And they're great, and they support, for every person that joins them, and you can get a free membership to it by going to thedoctor.com. You can go to thedr.com and you get free memberships there. But for everyone that joins Thrive Market to order their food from, they give a complimentary membership to a poor family. They're really giving back Tracy says, love Thrive. You bet. You bet. They're really socially conscious, trying to help the world and making this quality food available to poor families so that it's affordable for them. So I'd recommend everyone consider going to Thrive Market to order your food from, order your peanut butters and almond butters and most of your staples from Thrive. Your dollars will be going further than just into a corporate pocket. You're doing that. She's pouring water down my leg. She loves doing that. Uh-oh. There you go, honey. All right, time for some little treats now. It looks like, so let's give her some blueberries. So I take organic blueberries and I cut them in half just to make sure nothing gets stuck. And so she loves blueberries and blackberries and raspberries. She's a great eater. Her parents have been, from day one, just being very conscious about transitioning her with healthy foods. And she's just a great eater, and she's growing like a weed, which is really great to see. And in the fruits, please make sure they're organic whenever you can, once again. If not, if you don't have access to organic fruits and vegetables for some reason, then go to the Environmental Working Group, ewg.org, and download the list, and we'll put the link here. Marzi, let's put the link in for the list of the Dirty Dozen. The Dirty Dozen are the fruits and vegetables that have the highest concentrations of pesticides and insecticides. And those are the ones that you want to shy away from when you have to buy non-organic fruits or vegetables. So we'll put the list here so that you have access to it. So if you have organic, access to organic, then just go to town. And if you don't have access to organic, then avoid the dirty dozen as much as possible. And then there's the clean 15. And those are the ones, when you cannot buy organic, these are the safest fruits and vegetables that have the least amount of pesticides and insecticides or antibiotics. You know, they spray antibiotics now on our vegetable crops. I don't know about on the fruit crops, but they do spray them on the vegetable crops. My wife is giving a message here. Oh, here's the list. Oh, you're fast. Oh, you're fast. The dirty dozen. Thank you, Lenny. So there's the list for you so that you can access that. If you don't have access to organic, then go with inorganic. But avoid the dirty dozen whenever possible. If you cannot avoid the dirty dozen, do the dirty dozen. It's more important to get fruits and vegetables than not getting fruits or vegetables. You know, there's a study done about mercury in fish. And we know now that, for example, just about all tuna, except for one, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but almost all tuna now has mercury in it, and measurable levels of mercury. It's not poisonous to eat one order of tuna in a restaurant, but it accumulates. The mercury can accumulate in your body if you don't break it down, detox it, and get rid of it. And if you're one of those that has some subtle imbalances in detoxification, this stuff will accumulate in your body, and over time you get mercury toxicity. The exception to that is Vital Choice seafood. Marzi, let's do a link for Vital Choice for their canned tuna. Vital Choice seafood, and they have a canned tuna that has the lowest level of mercury that's measured in canned tuna fish, and they have a whole system to determine which fish to use for that canned tuna. My son grew up on canned tuna fish. This was back in the 80s, and he actually developed an anemia, and we couldn't figure out where it came from. And then I finally did figure out he had antibodies to fibrinogen, he had an autoimmune mechanism. What are you doing on my leg? What are you doing? She loves to pour water down my leg. She wants attention. But I discovered that my son had elevated antibodies to fibrinogen because of a mercury toxicity. And I couldn't figure out where you get mercury toxicity. Then I realized it was the tuna fish that was doing it. But there is healthy canned tuna fish that you can get, and Marzi will put the link here for you for the healthy canned tuna fish. She's watching the water drip down my leg. Oh, God, this is a grandfather's thing. I kind of love it. All right, so there was a study on tuna fish in pregnancy. Should women eat tuna fish in pregnancy? Should they eat fish in pregnancy because of the mercury toxicity? And the study was very clear. The potential damage of the exposure to mercury is so much lower than the damage of not having enough omega-3 fatty acids, that it was so much more important to get the omega-3 fatty acids than it was to not eat fish. So if they had no other source, they should eat the fish. Oh, God, she's never done it this much before. She wants attention. So it's more important to get the quality foods that have the nutrients to help build your brain than it is to not eat the foods. So when you can, of course, range-fed chickens, grass-fed meats, low mercury to mercury-free tuna fish whenever you can, fish that are lower on the food chain. Yes. Where's the? Oh, you ate all the blueberries. Okay, let me give you some more blueberries. Here. Let me give some more blueberries. There you go, honey. So those things are much more important. Charity Tingley says, the Environmental Work Group is amazing. We use it when showing people what they're putting on their skin with most body care products. That's right. It's a great organization. They've been around for a long time. They do great work to try to educate the public on here's what the science says and here's what the manufacturing industry is trying to tell you so that you see the difference. All right, I've been going on for a while here now. I'm going to give my granddaughter some attention now. Thank you so much for joining us. Leave your questions here, and if you would share this link with your friends, let them know about this. It reinforces for me the value in doing this. So thanks once again. It's really great to see you, and we'll see each other again next week. Thank you. Bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Bye-bye.